It's not allowing me to see what's going on. Okay, found it. Okay, cool. All right. So, like I said, today we are going to be talking about sharing. Sorry, your brand story. So, please confirm that you can see my screen, please, so I can go on. I hope you can hear me, sir. Okay, great. All right. So why does it matter to have a brand story? People buy from people that they trust, right? And on the internet, it's all about your story. What makes your story different that will make people to trust you? There are 1,001 vendors on the internet, right? But you notice that you feel connected to some, you feel you trust some. There's some maybe because of how they are making you laugh. Maybe it could be for any reasons, right? But they're just it's just natural to trust some more than others, like some more than others, and it's all dependent on your brand story, right? Yeah. Sorry. So why brand story matters, right? 91% of consumers globally prefer buying from authentic brand. No, but that's why you see brands nowadays. They talk like human beings. Like if you follow Piggy Vest on Twitter, you will see them using slangs that we use, Sorosoke Joe, all those kind of things. Was what I mean, slangs like that, you see them using it because people like to buy from people. Nobody likes to buy from machines. Nobody likes to buy as if you are sounding like you are too. It's just like when you call customer care and they are sounding too professional. That's not the point. The point is that you need something. You want to talk to somebody. You want to connect. We are human beings and we are big on emotional connections, right? So there are stories on the internet that people who have turned their brand into their personal their branding their stories into brands and have made money from it. So there is a woman called Sarah Blakely. She sells this thing that they call Spanx. I'm sure you've heard it before. They are very popular. Even if you don't even know it, you've heard of Spanx before. They are very popular, right? There are people who have started their home-based catering business to share their cultural recipe, and before you know, they will gather a following, right? So it's about authenticity. It's about you know why should they buy you, right? Why should they buy from you rather, right? So a brand story is not just your logo. A lot of people think it's just logo, and that's why you see many business when they start, they just start with logo. It's more than that, although logo is a part of the story. So your brand story is the narrative that communicates your mission, your value, and the emotional connection to your audience. See, buying is emotional. Buying and selling is emotional. I've learned that in my career, right? So your brand story usually includes your purpose, your voice, and your personality. In traditional marketing, all this does not matter, but in online marketing, it matters. And as we go, you would understand. So, example of somebody branding her story, a tailor might brand herself as the guardian of heritage, right? Maybe she's sewing couture gowns or whatever it is that your story is. It could be that you used to be a working class and you realize that for ladies wearing buying corporate clothes or doing corporate work, getting good corporate clothes with good material was hard, and you'd be like, this is why I started my business. So we've heard stories like that and that like that again. There's a brand called Chowdeck. You know what Chowdeck does, right? It's a Nigerian brand, and as much as what's the name of their competitor? I've forgotten their competitor. They have one very big competitor like that, I can't remember the name, but a lot of this was a this conversation on Twitter recently, and a lot of people was um lightning low. Sorry, let me charge that though. Hold on. For it to die. It should not gonna die. Okay, it's back on. So there was a conversation between I think Child Deck and one other food delivery system, and a lot of people could tell that the reason why they always pick Child Deck, even if the other brand was always running. Can you see my screen? Okay, even if the other brand was always running, what's it called, was always running ads, people just find themselves using child deck because we know the founder is always coming out to tell the story all the time, all the time, all the time, that sort of thing. So that's the importance of having a brand story, right? Give me a moment, I just want to see what is showing on the live stream. It is not showing on the live stream. Okay, it is. All right, let me go back. So it's very important that you have your brand story. So how do you define your brand purpose? Remember, I said components of a brand story is your purpose, your voice, and your personality, right? So how do you define your brand purpose? You have to ask yourself, what problem does your business solve? Okay, what are you doing, what impact do you want to make? If you work for a company, right, you have to ask what problem does that company solve. If it's logistics, they are solving the problems of moving things from point A to point B. If it's fintech, they are solving the problem of moving money fast, effective payments, payment, things like that. If network, MTN, communications. So every brand is solving the problem out there. If you're an influencer, what impact do you want to make? Do you want to make people laugh as a comedian? Are you a mental health person? Do you talk about mental health, uplifting women? You have to define your purpose, even down to, even if it's just a food business, right? What exactly is the purpose of this your food business? You want people to have access to cheaper food or more delicious food, right? As a tailor, what is the purpose? Why did you start your business? Because you are passionate about making clothes. Regardless of what it is, you have to define what problem your business solve and what impact you want to make, one or the other or both of them, right? Without this, it's going to be hard to sell online, right? So a framework to do that is look at the status quo, the conflict you are resolving, and how your product or whatever it is that you are doing is the solution, right? And an example would be to say my business does so and so to solve so and so problem for so and so people, right? You have to define the audience. We've talked about target audience before. So when it comes to crafting your brand voice and your personality, your voice, there's something called voice, there's something called tone. Your voice is your personality, how you sound, right? I could be scrolling through TikTok and maybe somebody enters a room and I scrolled and a video started playing and I'm not even looking at my phone. But once you hear that person, or once you hear, or you might hear a sound, you just know that this is this person's page that I have come on, right? And the tone adapts to the context. So if you are a mental health person, you are more likely to be maybe a bit formal, kind of semi-informal. If you are a corporate organization and you're trying to be a thought leader in your industry, you are probably going to sound more formal, right? If you're in the informal sector, you can joke, you can laugh, right? So depending on the context of where you are, right? There is a woman online, you can check her. I think her name is Women Undergarments in Ishaga or something like that. I can't remember her name. But the thing about her, she sells women undergarments, bras, underwears and all of that. But her personality is that she's funny. Her marketing tactics are always very funny. Okay, you want to say something? Hold on. I don't know why I cannot unmute you. Can you unmute or just drop it in the chat? Olije, can you unmute or drop it in the chat? Or you know what, just write every questions that you have until the end of the class and just write anything you have, just write it down at the end. Okay, I should slow down. Okay, I'll slow down. All right, so as I was saying, I would slow down. As I was saying, after you have crafted the purpose of your brand, what problem you solve, and what impact you want to make. The second thing is your voice and your tone, right? Like, how do you want to be perceived, right? What kind of personality do you want to embody? I will give you some global brands that have done it. Coca-Cola has branded itself as the go-to drink for when people are in a gathering. Every Coca-Cola ad you see, what you most likely see is people gathering together, they are sharing Coke, that is Coca-Cola for you. Nike has made itself, it has aligned itself with sports. If you see Nike, you will definitely see sports, even though it's a shoe brand at the end of the day. But they've aligned themselves with sports, right? Just do it. They're kind of like also motivating, right? So you can say that Nike is authentic, motivational, and that sort of thing. So you have to decide what your brand is going to be. Do you want it to be relaxing, fun? That's why I gave the analogy of the woman that sells underwear. She's very funny, right? If I would drop her title in the, I mean, I'll drop her handle in the chat later so that you understand what I mean by that is her own branding. She's just funny. So you have to decide how you want to come, right? Choose 3 to 5 adjectives for your brand. So what do you want to be known for? Authentic, nurturing, do you want to be professional? Do you want to be funny? Do you want to be whatever it is that you want to be? Decide that, right? So how do you tell your story authentically? If you know anything about marketing, this is a buzzword in the marketing world, right? They always talk about storytelling because it's what connects, is what is getting to everybody's how you sell. So you have to know your why. You have to find your why. You have to know your audience, and you have to be able to be vulnerable, right? For instance, let me give you let's take Opay for an instance. Opay is a very, very big company. Opay already knew why they were coming to the market. They knew that the traditional brands were really, really messing up a lot, right? We all know the story, right? And so they already knew who their audience was, people that were using bank, because if you have a bank account, it means that you're moving money on you're moving money, right? So you definitely be interested in moving money online. But they also knew that it would be younger generation, because it's hard to convince the older generation to subscribe to something where they don't know where their money is. There's no office to go. So institutions like OP and fintech, they already knew their audience, right? They know why they were coming into the market, and they were going to go forward with it. Like Piggyverse, for instance, I would say they were very vulnerable. Like, you have founders sharing their story, right? This I'm trying to remember Child Deck. We know what Child Deck is, but I cannot remember their rivalry. Okay, let me check it here. So Child Deck is a Nigerian brand, and there are people who understood their story as well. You can tell from their name; they actually used a name that is peculiar to, when you hear Chow is food, right? And so you can tell that they knew that their audience were going to be Nigerians, right? Their audience were going to be Nigerians. They were targeting the Nigerian audience. But one thing that the founders did, right, was to come out and tell their stories, why they built this thing. Because I mean, I think Nigeria did not have this extensive platform where people can order food from, right? You have to go to the market, or you have to go to the restaurant physically to do. Glovo is the one that is the Glovo is the brand I've been trying to remember. So there is Child Deck and there is Glovo, right? So in this has been a conversation. A lot of people, the truth is that, in my own opinion, I know more people use Child Deck than Glovo, because even if you don't even know you don't know any online delivery food, and you go to your Play Store, right, and you see Child Deck, you see Glovo, you are more likely to download Child Deck, because you are hearing Chow, that is um related to food, right? So that's also part of telling your story and knowing your audience. Rather, that's a big part of knowing your audience. They knew they were for Nigerians, right? So that one alone has already given them a market share, right? Glovo is an international brand. Like, there's Glovo in other countries as well, but you would see more ads on Glovo. Glovo runs ads more than Child Deck, but a lot of us still use Child Deck. Why? Because if you are very conversant on Twitter, as a techie, if you're a techie and you're not on Twitter, it's very dangerous. So I will advise everyone, if you want to go into tech, please, Twitter is your friend. So most tech founders are on Twitter, and so we get to see their stories, we get to hear their stories, and there's this idea that the smart people are on Twitter, yada yada yada, right? So when most technical products are coming to the market, they come through Twitter, right? So sorry, somebody just joined. All right, so The thing about child deck is that they've been able to craft a story for themselves, right? You know why they're in the market. You know they are always there. They always talk about how they are here to serve Nigerians, how to make things easy for Nigerians. And as a Nigerian, if you're going to give your money to a brand, you want to give your money to a brand that talks about as if they care for you, right? So that's the thing. To tell your story authentically, you have to know your why. If you are becoming a tailor because you have realized that it is hard for female entrepreneurs or female 9 to 5 workers um to get clothes at a very cheap rate, or to get clothes that fits them, or maybe you are doing it for plus size ladies, you feel that the market is not favorable to plus size ladies, they cannot find what fits them, and you want to be able to sew custom dress for them. That should be your story, right? This is the people that you are appealing to. So because you are talking about something that really really affects them, they are more likely to buy for you, that this person understands the struggle, this person knows what I'm going through. So again, it's not like traditional marketing where everything is outside, you either buy or you don't buy. Online there are 1,001 vendors. Stories like this will bring you out, stories like this will make you stand out. And again, that's why the first thing I thought was audience analysis. You have to know your audience. You cannot sell to everybody. Even if it's food you are selling, you can the internet is about 10 billion people. If you are going to run ads, you cannot run ads to 10 billion people. You will spend money like there's no tomorrow. So know the people that you are targeting. If it's food you are selling, for Mercy that sells that wants to sell Ijebu Gari, as funny as it may sound, her target audience could be Nigerians in the diaspora. That could be her target audience. I worked in logistics. I've seen people send offer the rice. They'll pay 100,000 naira for logistics to send offer because they are homesick. They grew up in Nigeria. They've spent 30 years in Nigeria before they went home, so they still crave things. So you have to know your why. Do you understand? It could be that you are bringing home away from home to the people abroad. It's a story. They would understand. They will buy into it, right? So know your audience. Find your why and be vulnerable. Always. One thing that people love to see is a sad story. You can share your happy moments, but maybe something happened, business went down a little. Share stories like this, but you're not giving up. You know why you started, and it's for the coffee ladies. You are starting because of stories like that sell. Right? Vulnerability builds trust because it shows that you are human as well. Share the messy side of your journey, share the beautiful part of your journey. Although social media is always sharing the good parts, but to build trust, to build vulnerability, you can also share the sad part of your story. Share behind the scenes as well. Behind the scenes are a very powerful story, right? If you are a tailor, you can show behind the scenes of going to the market to source for good materials because you want female 9 to 5 workers to be able to wear good material. That's something that will sell. If it's food, you show your behind the scene process, how clean you are, why they should buy from you, because you are cleaner than other brands, or you are whatever it is that it might be. Right? So for the person that just joined, we're talking about crafting your brand story. This is important because what sells on social media is story. How sweet is your story is what people will buy. Right? So you can always watch the beginning of the video on the live stream. So these are just examples of people that have told great stories. Vicky James is also a good story, as she's a tailor, right? Although her craft, I would say that for Vicky James, her craft spoke for her more. But outside the craft, we got to see a personal side of Vicky James that humanized that brand, from her husband, her marriage. She makes her marriage a content. If it's all part of telling her story. We see the human parts in her. Some people like her for that and patronize her, right? Who else can I say that have told a good story? I've used Nike before. Nike has already aligned themselves with sports. If you think of Nike, it's easy for you to forget that Nike is a sports brand, right? You would it's a shoe brand. You would just think sports automatically because that's what they've aligned them. So they've told their story around sports because it's a sports shoe. So if you're thinking sports, if you want to start running today, if you want to go to the gym today, it's normal that you think of Nike shoes. Let's assume that we're living abroad and we have Nike everywhere. It's normal that you would think about that. So these are just stories of people who have told a great stories. As crazy as it may sound, as fickle as it may sound, trust me, it is important. Otherwise, you just go online and you're just shouting to the void. Nobody's buying from you. You will just notice that one person that is doing what you are doing, she's selling more because she's telling a better story. And this also works for organizations too. When you're in professional organizations, in logistics, your story could be that you are making moving things from point A to point B seamless, right? It could be that something happened to you 3 years ago. You wanted to send something to your brother, the thing hang in the sea because the logistics company around were not doing what they were supposed to do, and that's why you started. It's a story because it's something that has happened before and people have experienced it, right? It could be in banking sector. Why this bank is better than that bank? Opay is there now. Pampay is there. They are telling you different stories as to why you should choose them, offering you different things. It's the story that catches you that you will follow, right? So that's the essence of telling a good story. I don't think I've talked about that. Um. Oh, today is actually very very short. Wow. Okay, so tomorrow, today is just a okay, I made it short because I have a meeting by 6 o'clock. So essentially, right, you should sit down with your brand, and this is for people who want to run one business or the other. Sit down with yourself, right? What is the purpose of your brand? You have to have a story. You have to craft a story. Every business has a story. I know that as Nigerians, one of the main things that make us want to go into business is to make money. But other than making money online, you have to be able to differentiate yourself from others. What makes your business different from others? Your why, right? And you have to also know your audience. If your audience, your story too has to match your audience, right? If you, for instance, I cannot imagine Piggyverse. They know that they already know, or Opay. They will not be trying to tell a story to attract the older generation. It will not work because those ones will never use it. But they know who their audience is, young audience, and so the story also panders to them. And it's also important. I think one of the biggest type of content that you can create that will ever build trust, that will get people to buy from you, is behind the scene. Because when you see behind the scene, you can now trust that person's process and trust them. So it doesn't matter what you are doing, whether you are, again, whether you are selling food, whether you are a tailor, whether you are a baker, whatever it is that you are. Sometimes your unique selling point could be that you use organic ingredients to bake, right? You show people where you source your whatever it is, but find a story. You have to. So tomorrow I would show you how to create logos, and create other things. I'll show you how to use Canva to create a logo for your business, right? So that, because your next assignment is going to be creating a logo for your business, because it's important. And the thing about the logo thing, or the thing, is branding. Let's just say tomorrow we're going to talk about branding, and I'll also show you guys how to use Canva. Canva is a what's it called? Canva is a Jesus. Sorry, give me a moment. Sorry, hold on. So Canva is a platform that you can use to create graphic design. It's very easy to use. It's plug and play. Most of the designs have been designed to. Yes, thank you very much, Olivia. So it's a design tool, right? And so I will show you guys how to use it tomorrow. Very easy, very seamless. Because we're still going to go on to talk about content creation, where you create graphic design. But for tomorrow, I will show you guys how to use Canva to create logos, and also how to craft your own story for your brand, how to craft your purpose, how to craft your voice, how to craft your tone. That is what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So your assignment for this week, again, for those who are just coming, by the end of today, I'll let you guys know how to submit your assignment, and I've figured it out. So for your assignment today, draft your brand story using this step template. You want to know your purpose. You want to know what problem you are solving. That's the conflict. You want to know the solution, how your product is the solution. Also, what will your voice be? Do you want to be empathetic? Like, maybe you're talking to people, like you want when people encounter your brand, they should feel like they have a friend. This is what most motivational speakers do. When you encounter their brand, you think you're talking to a friend. When you encounter somebody in the professional field, they sound like they are experts, right? There are ways to do. So you have to decide how you want to start. For most professionals, if you're going to be working for a business, you probably would be sounding like a professional, like an expert, right? If you are a baker or a tailor, you are probably going to be coming off as friendly, friendly, wholesome, whatever it is that you want to do. A competitors analysis. Look at your competitors. How are they sounding like? How do the brand feel like? Because, like it or not, most brands feel better than some, right? For me, OPay feels more at home than Pampe, right? So do your own audience analysis, and tomorrow we would explore Canva and how you can use Canva to create logos and your own graphic design. All right. Any questions so far? Any okay? Thank you, Olij. Any other person with question? Let me go and stop the live stream. So if there are no questions, right, we can go because I have a meeting. Oh, I still have time. Thank God. That's why I made it short. Let me end the live